on and off the field with Durf and Dylan is back for another Thursday episode. Whew. I'm tired. I'm trying to get myself pumped. I really tried there. That was my A effort for today.
All right.
Boy, oh boy. Expectations are low, but we're going to fight through it regardless.
Yeah.
We're going to do some mock draft recap from Tuesday's episode. If you tuned into that, we got everybody except Matt's, I think, mock draft.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Ryan's. I don't have Ryan's either. So we have 4 out of the 6 that drafted with us on Tuesday that we're going to kind of tear apart a little bit. We're bringing Kyle back on the show to help us out. Should be a really good time. Before that, obviously, we got our others. Since we basically did no other sports and no NFL news on Tuesday, we got a lot to talk about. So how about we get to it, and we'll start out the show by telling you where to share, subscribe, follow, like, do all of that.
All of that. So real quick here, just because we got so much news to get to, make sure to follow On and Off the Field on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as our YouTube channel, where you can get uncut episodes, our live shows, like right now, and other great content. Make sure to head on over to iTunes and rate and review the show, and let us know how we're doing and what you like or dislike about the show. You can find all these links at onandoffthefield.com, along with our fundraising efforts, and to learn more about Dylan, myself, and the show. And while you're on the interwebs, head on over to rtfsportsnetwork.com, where you can catch On and Off the Field on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And while you're on the RTF Sports Network website, head on over to all the blogs that we have on there. We have some really great writers and some really great blogs to read there. So head on over and get reading.
Yes, sir. It's a lot of great stuff. We just got done, rebranding a little bit. Not really rebranding, but more of updated the slots. A lot of our top shows doing more shows now. I know Strikeout Beers, they're doing like Strikeout Beer, and then also their late night beer review. Just really good stuff. It's a great network. It's growing. A lot of good stuff going on. So make sure you tune into all of that Durf just informed you of. Current charities: Feeding America and Boys and Girls Club of America. And Boys and Girls Club of America is where the money's going to go if you join our fantasy football league, which I think we have 2 more spots open for our at least a 12-man league.
Yeah.
At least a 12-man league. I would like to, it'd be cool if we do multiple leagues, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just more money for charity. That's all that really matters. I mean, I'm not really in this to we got to get all the people on board so we can make some dough. It's not really, that's not our goal here. Yeah. But, I'm thinking the draft date might be a Thursday, the 27th, 2 weeks from now, maybe. It might be the 27th. Heck yeah, because my vacation begins the 28th. So we should be able to draft the 27th, and then I'm out the door. So I think that's going to be the date. I'll let everyone know when that's official. But as of right now, it's probably the 27th. We'll roll with that.
All right.
It might change. Everything's subject to change. So
yep.
All right, and that's really all we got. All that money goes to Boys and Girls Club of America. So honestly, it's $20 buy-in. If you want to do 40, 50, you got deep pockets. Just go the full 1,000 to meet our goal. Go for it. Why not? But yeah, that's basically it for that. We're going to get the show really started here. We're going to rock and roll straight into the thing we still don't have another good transition for, the other sports. We should have had that ready for season 3, but
yeah.
For other sports, we have to start with college football.
Mm-hmm.
We have to, because we didn't talk about it on Tuesday, and there's been so much going on with college football.
Yep.
So everyone knows, because I think it happened last week, everyone knows that the MAC Mid-Eastern or Mid-American Conference,
yeah.
Mid-Atlantic Conference canceled their fall sports because I think it was some Indiana team, maybe. I don't really know what team it was. I heard the rumors of what team it might have been, and then they said they weren't going to play. So then that was just domino effect, and the MAC just canceled everything. That's kind of what happened with that conference. And then it just dominoed out. This is what we expected to some degree. The Pac-12 canceled their fall sports. The Big Ten is also out. I think it was the Big Ten. Out of the 14 schools, it was a 12-2 vote not to play the fall season. I think it was Nebraska and Iowa that voted to play, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. But the Big 12, ACC, SEC, and like a bunch of those other schools that are just floating out there, like Nebraska, still want to play in the fall. Right now, this is the tentative plan that they're still carrying forward. So, and that kind of goes to the point with Nebraska. They're still they don't want to leave the Big Ten. There's a lot of news that Nebraska was like mad at the Big Ten, like, I want to play, you sons of gun, and they're gonna like go join the Big 12. That's not true. That was just a rumor someone came up with, which is fine. It was a talking point for a little while.
Yeah,
but Nebraska is still looking to just fill a schedule. They still want to play, and I'm sure there's a couple of schools out there that want to do that with Nebraska. So. With everything just dominoing the way it is, are we going to have college football this year? And if we do, what's it really going to look like? I mean, do you have general opinions on college football this fall?
I'm not surprised that there's 3 of the 5 big power conferences still trying to play. Not surprised by that. I definitely was like sad to hear that Big Ten was canceled. Just because that's Saturday football for me, but I think it's the right thing to do. And I know there was talk about what the reason the Pac-12 canceled was like literally their medical advisory board said we don't have testing up to par. We do not have the correct PPE for all these people, and you're just going to cause more of a headache down the road. It's not worth it right now. And I 100% fully agree with that. Why push something for kids that are trying to get degrees, trying to better themselves in college? Why are you going to now push for something where these kids don't get paid? So now you're going to put them even technically they're more at risk, and it's not doesn't make sense to me. You could say it's a money thing for the schools. Like, yes, they're going to take a hit. They'll be fine. We all know they're going to jack tuition up in next year anyway on them. I mean, luckily I'm not in school anymore, so they can do what they want, but it's not right. So I just don't see college football lasting very long. And if it does somehow to get to the national championship, I don't think it counts.
Yeah, that was like the next big question was, well, like I said, like what's it going to look like if all these schools do end up playing? Like, I guess if the Big 12, ACC, and SEC play, what you're looking at probably a Clemson, Alabama,
right,
national championship. Like, you might as well just pencil that in by the sounds of it. There's really no one that's going to compete with that. It just boils down to money. And I know a lot of this, but I think it was an NFL player that had their COVID test come back and they had an enlarged heart. I don't remember what the disease is called off the top of my head. I didn't write it down.
I've heard it. I heard what you're talking about, but I don't remember the name. It's something started with a C. I thought
it might have started with an A, but what do I know?
Then maybe I'm wrong then. I don't know.
We're probably both are wrong. I don't know. Yeah, like an enlarged heart, and that's like it seems common. It's getting more common with especially in like athletes, active people. It can affect your heart, and then that someone drops dead. Simple as that. That could happen. You could have a college football player drop dead because of a COVID side effect or symptom, whatever terminology you want to use, and it gets into an ugly discussion of, do colleges care about the safety or do they just care about their money? And it kind of goes hand in hand because,
right.
well, we kind of care about your safety because we can't afford a lawsuit, especially with some of these smaller conferences. So I think it's a little bit of both. But at the end of the day, I just don't think any of this is worth it. Every single day,
right.
COVID is a virus. It's kind of like the flu. It's kind of like H1N1 back in the day. It's something that evolves. It changes and I feel like people glossed over this. It's a new thing. People are showing enlarged hearts recently. This is new. It's changing, and it's only been a couple months. It could be a couple more months, and people's arms could be falling off. They could have things decompose. You don't know.
Right.
Why are you going to risk something? You just don't know what could happen. You can be in the middle of a televised game, and someone's freaking heart could explode. There's just no need. I know that. I know we all want sports, and I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here, but it's just at some point, especially for these kids, it might just not be worth it. But they have the option to opt out, just like the NFL. I think the NFL is a little different because it's at a professional level. It's not kids in college.
Right.
This is a career at this point. Some people still go to work these days in these conditions. This is kind of like their work. So I have a different opinion when you look at NFL, but college, I just don't see why this is necessary. But that's kind of where we're sitting at with college football.
Yeah.
And I see you ask the question in here. If there's no college football, could we have NFL 5 days a week? Boy, oh boy.
That would be something.
Give it to me. I will never disagree with that. Thursday night football, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, give it to me. All of it.
That would, it could help with the NFL scheduling, though, if they had to flex something.
Yeah.
Because something happened. Like, it gives them more flexibility to guarantee a season happening. I mean,
for that single reason alone, they should probably consider it. I mean, that's a great point. If they have to put their starting quarterback on COVID list because of maybe like a false positive or something,
right?
Move it to Monday or like Sunday if they're supposed to play Thursday, whatever, and give it time to see if it comes back negative. It's great. Yeah. It's a great point. So moving on to the NBA. We got so much news here. It's it's just been such a busy week. The Suns, I actually put the Suns are 7-0 in my notes, but they just got done winning today, and they're now 8-0 in the bubble, completely undefeated in the bubble during this regular season play-in thing. And so they're tied for the 9th seed, I guess, right now with the Trailblazers. Memphis did win also today, so they're going to be like one of the seeds in the play-ins. It's 8th or 9th, I think.
Right.
But yeah, the Spurs have been eliminated, so that's no longer relevant. So it's either going to be Portland or the Suns playing the Grizzlies. But whoever it is, you would like to think it's Portland or the Suns that will win the play-in game because the Grizzlies have just been.
Right.
It's so unfortunate. They've been decimated by injury. It sucks. Because I love Ja Morant. I would have loved to see him get to the playoffs, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't paid too much attention to the Grizzlies I've seen the Blazers kind of lighting it up, and we've been keeping an eye on the Suns, but other than that, I haven't been paying too much attention to the Western Conference, to be honest.
Yeah, I only watched a little bit of the Grizzlies for Ja Morant because I think he's the rookie of the year. But that's really the only reason I pay attention to them at all. Damian Lillard dropped 61 points, but that was against the Sixers, who didn't even have Ben Simmons, and I don't know. The Sixers will be swept in their first series. I don't even care who they're playing. That team is, for some reason, we like to call the Sixers like this really good team, but they're just not. Hey, everybody. Just throwing in a quick commercial break for the RTF Sports Network. Enjoy the rest of the show. Like, people were riding Joel Embiid like he's a superstar, but what has he done?
That's the thing though. Like everyone gets hyped up on the talent that's supposedly there, and it never pans out.
I mean, I might be missing something. This is why it's the other sports. I could be missing something here, but I just don't see the 76ers as a team that can compete in the playoffs at all.
Right.
This is the one that really got me. Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he walked up and headbutted a dude in their game on Tuesday. Maybe Wednesday. No, it was Tuesday, and they suspended him on Wednesday for today's game. Today's game had zero impact on their seeding, and he probably wouldn't have played at all. He headbutted a guy. I watched the video. It's not that extreme, but guess what?
No,
you headbutted a guy.
Right.
You kind of need to sit him down for, a playoff game or two would have been nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the golden child right now of these playoffs. He's their MVP, possible defensive MVP, or defensive player of the year. I guess I should say.
Yeah.
They don't want him sitting, which I get, but you can't just be like, well, we need him to play, so I guess he can headbutt whoever he wants. Whatever. It's a pretty bad precedent to set.
Yeah.
Last point with the NBA. The NBA did announce that they can bring guests into the bubble. Players can bring people into the bubble. Now, this is limited.
Mm-hmm.
This is limited. They cannot bring people in that they have only had contact with virtually, which means that Instagram model that the one person invited early on in the bubble, she can't come. It's virtually limited to family, one family member, and then a kid can come. They have to be like under 3 feet. You can only be this tall to ride. Like you can only be this tall to come into the bubble. So they're not allowed to bring models and side chicks and stuff. They can't just be, oh yeah, she's my sister, but they're gonna go woohoo end up in the hotel room. So yeah. I found that interesting though, that they're gonna be at least allowing people to come. Are they gonna be able to games? Or are they just gonna sit in the hotel room?
I would think just in the hotel room. I don't think you'd want to bring all those people to the game. I mean, there's not seating for them.
Oh, there's no seating at all in there?
The arena is set up to not have seating.
Oh. I thought there was just bleachers covered in the corners or something. I thought there was seating, they just didn't have it out.
Maybe. I know they have all the giant screens there to do like the virtual fans, and then like where all the players sit is like 4 or 5 rows of where people would sit, all spaced out, so you're social distancing. So I guess
they're just there for moral support.
Yeah,
they'll just sit in the hotel room and just gotta be there.
Yeah,
it's still good.
At least it's still like a kind of like a mood pick me up kind of for some of these players. It could be tough for some of these players being away for so long. Like normally you go back and forth and you at least see someone every once in a while, but I mean I've been away for a while.
NBA players have already, some NBA players came out and said, it's affecting their mental health, which here, let me throw this up real quick. Surprise Moran Talks Moron segment. It was an NBA player came out with a quote and it hit social media and it said, it's affecting a lot of people's mental health. It's like depression settles in for some people. They've been there for a couple of months. And I went to the comments because I'm an idiot. And people are like, oh, poor you. You're in Disneyland. And, oh, poor you. You have to play basketball for 4 months. And I commented on it. I was like, this is why people don't talk about their mental health. This is why people kill them. This is why their suicide rates and depression rates are so high. People don't think they can talk about their mental health because people like that, oh, you're mental. Oh, you're fine, you baby. You don't know what a person's going through.
Yeah.
They're isolated. They've been sitting in hotel rooms. They can't do anything. Right? Yeah, they're in Orlando and there might be a pool and there's like a lake and there's things, but you're away from your family. You're away from everybody. You're just there, and people need to get that through their heads. Stop being a bunch of bad words. Upsetting.
Yeah.
All right. Major League Baseball. We have an official suspension out for the A's and Astros bench clearing. For those who don't know, the A's or the Athletics, Ramon Laureano, he got hit by 2 pitches in that game. He got hit, I think, 5 times A's were hit by pitches in that series, and Laureano got hit twice. So he was mad,
Right.
which is fair, but he never incited anything. He was just kind of like talking to the pitcher, like they did a breakdown. He's like showing him how to throw a slider so he doesn't hit the pitcher, like hit a batter. He's like sitting there like, you gotta, like, you could read his lips and see his hands. He's like, you gotta flick your wrist. Like, and he wasn't saying anything bad. He gets to first base, and this Astros coach just comes out of the dugout for no reason. It turns out to be the Astros hitting coach, and he just starts screaming at Ramon. And apparently he said some things about Ramon's mother that you're apparently not supposed to say about someone's mother.
Oh, man.
And obviously, you know, Laureano just charged him, and everyone saw the picture and the video. The hitting coach never got involved in that fight. He started it and then just like took 6 steps back, and he participated 0% in that fight.
Jeez.
The coach was suspended 20 games, and Ramon was suspended 6. Personally, I'm fine with Ramon's suspension. Like, I know you have to go fight the guy that's talking about your mother. I get it.
Right.
But you can't, in these times especially, cause a bench clearing. But for the Astros hitting coach, just send him home for the season. Like, you're just leave.
Yeah.
Or like, you can be with practices, I guess, if you want, but you're not allowed. You're not allowed in a game. You go home. That would have been my suspension, because you can't have a guy trying to incite a bench clearing brawl during this season. I mean, do you have any opinions on that?
I mean, just that hitting coach was a moron. I mean, to say it bluntly like that, like, why would you do that? You know, everyone knows that you want to play baseball. Like, why would you invoke someone to cause a potential scenario where everyone forgets about COVID rules and just starts wailing at each other, like bench clearing, and there's just no need for it. Like, we're just trying to get a season out, just trying to get through something somewhat normal, and this guy is trying to ruin it because he's a moron. And
there's no reason to even, like, what I don't understand what his goal was.
Right.
Come out there, even start yelling at him. He's not even like the pitching coach. If it was the pitching coach, he's defending his pitcher. Right. Then that would make, this is the hitting coach. It made no sense to me personally why he even would start it. But I think generally they got the suspensions correct. And I just got to get this out real quick. Everyone is riding this Fernando Tatis Jr. guy like he is Jesus reincarnated. He is the new face of baseball. This kid is the future. He's everything. Make it clear right now, he is talented. He's like one home run behind Aaron Judge. He's got he's good on defense. He's hitting the ball real well.
Yeah.
He's a good player. And maybe one day he will be the face. But guess who's still in the league? Mike Trout is still a thing. He's still there. Mike Trout is the face of baseball, whether you like it or not. He might not get in front of a camera and act like he's the face of baseball, but guess what? He's the most talented player by far. And then a second point to that, they say he's the new face of baseball. He's the young star. Didn't we just get done saying like Aaron Judge is the new star of baseball? Like he's the new face? Like what happened to that? Like Aaron Judge, the new face of baseball. That died out in like a season and a half. Like we're just done with him. Whatever. Just go hit more home runs.
Yeah.
You know? He's like Andy in Toy Story with Woody. He just drops on the ground like, I'm done with you. Like that's everybody with Aaron Judge. We're done with you. That's the feeling I got. Like I'm not hating on Fernando. I just hate these trends. He's the new face of baseball. Why? Because he's having a good 20 games so far into the season. Like I don't know. It just gets me hyped. It gets me rattled.
Yeah, and that's just me. It's just media and analysts just looking for short-term hype solutions. Like You could say he's the face of baseball, but until I see it for an entire season, and from one season to the next, I'm not going to accept it. That's basically all it is. Like, you can say he's hot right now, like he's on a streak. Yeah, we'll go with that. He's the current pop culture guy for baseball right now. Like, everyone's gonna be looking up this guy's stats and looking up who he is and how he's done. Sure. Face of baseball? No.
Yeah. I like to be the face of baseball.
Yeah.
You have to be the best player. Like, that's not a light term. You can't just say he's the face of a sport. Right. He's the guy that we want to put on a pedestal. Like, and he's only played a couple games. I think he might have played a little bit last year too, and might have done well. I think he played last year, but not the entire year.
Right.
It gets me rattled when people do that kind of stuff. For the NHL, we don't have a whole lot. It's just cruising. NHL's just cruising.
Yeah.
No COVID tests. They're just
rocking
they're having a good time.
Yeah.
And then I got to ask you this, because you might have the answer to my question at the end of this. But the Lightning and the Blue Jackets, the Lightning beat the Blue Jackets 3-2, but they went to 5 overtimes. 5 overtimes. The fourth longest NHL playoff game in history. It was so long that it actually pushed the Bruins and Hurricanes game until the next day, which started at 11 a.m., which I think the Bruins won. And then Blue Jackets goalie Joonas Korpisalo had an NHL record 85 saves.
That's nuts. That is insane.
85. I didn't look up how many saves the other guy had. I should have. But 85 is insane.
That's a lot. And for it to only be a 3-2 end score, that just makes it that much more impressive.
And then I feel kind of a little bit bad for him, because that was game 1 of this series. He has to skate back out there and just do it all again. Like, that was game 1.
Yeah.
Oof. So my question is, I don't know how hockey rules work. If you don't know, maybe Kyle knows. I thought after a couple overtimes, when do you do a shootout in hockey?
I really don't know. I know there's sometimes they'll do 1 overtime and then they do a shootout. I don't know
That's
necessarily what causes that.
Yeah, like what? Oh, we have a private chat over here. He says, I don't think they do it for the playoffs. They don't do shootouts for the playoffs, says Kyle.
Oh, well, hey, I'll take it then. That's
I never would have thought of that.
Battle to the death.
I don't think that's a smart decision, obviously, because now you have 5 overtimes in game 1. Hello, injuries. Can you say injuries? Well, that's all I'm thinking about.
Well, yeah. But I mean, the Lightning and the Blue Jackets literally played an entire another game playing that game.
They played
It was like an extra 4 hours.
Period. Well, yeah, because overtimes, I think, are only 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So they played like basically in a whole other game. I was trying to do the math real quick, but I can't. So, alrighty, let's kind of blaze through NFL news.
All right,
we're not blaze through it, but we'll try and get some good topics in there. Everyone knows that Darius Geis was released from the Washington football team over the weekend because he turned himself in after being arrested for domestic violence charges. He was actually had, I think, back faces charges of 1 count of felony strangulation and 3 counts of assault and battery and 1 count of destruction of property. They all happened earlier in the year, but I guess somebody blew him in and he just decided to turn himself in. So July 22nd, and then, my goodness, someone took a video of himself turning himself in or something, and the Washington football team released him like a half hour after that news broke. They did not, maybe even sooner. He turned himself in. They said he was arrested, and Washington football team was like, bye.
They're gone.
Like, holy cow. I guess turning himself in maybe kind of made that process faster.
Yeah,
because
probably.
A lot of people were saying oh, well, he's guilty till proven innocent, I guess, releasing him before he even goes to court. The dude turned himself in.
Right.
Obviously,
he did something wrong.
I think he might have done something wrong. He kind of showed himself that. He showed everyone that he's guilty just by turning himself in, I think. Mm-hmm. This is our last commercial break for the RTF Sports Network. Enjoy the rest of the show commercial free. Jaguars edge rusher Yannick Ngoku parted ways with his agent after there's been no success being able to get out of Jacksonville, which is fair, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, I kind of agree with that. He's been trying to get out of there for a long time, and the fact he's still there, I've given him like 3 different deadlines. Oh, he'll be traded at the trade deadline. Oh, he'll be traded before the draft. Oh, he'll be traded before that. He's still there.
I'm surprised he didn't opt out just because.
I think he still wants to play. He wants to be on a new team, but I don't understand what's taking so long. Nobody.
I think it's Jacksonville playing they're stiffing them pretty good is what they're doing.
Oh, man.
There's got to be interest out there.
Yeah, there has to be, but no, I'm just shocked. I don't.
Yeah,
I think he might sit out the season. I don't know what kind of restrictions he might have with the franchise tag being on him.
Oh yeah.
If he doesn't get traded, he'll probably sit out the season, I would imagine. I don't think he would play because he doesn't want to with Jacksonville.
Right.
Oh, let's see here. Yesterday, the Cowboys signed Everson Griffin to a 1-year deal worth up to $6 million. Worth up to $6 million. So what you're telling me, look at me in the eyes. You're telling me the Seattle Seahawks could not carve out up to $6 million for this guy. That's what you're telling me. That's what you're going to look at me in the eyes and you're going to tell me the Seahawks couldn't carve out $6 million for Everson Griffin.
Maybe the Seahawks are like, we tried and they just didn't keep persistent.
Try for $6 million? They have like 12 or 14 in cap space. I think it's around 12. I mean, it's up to $6 million even.
Right.
If he underperforms, what, you pay him 3? 4? Like if he would have signed for 10, 11 mil, okay, fine, he's all yours.
Right.
Like, I guess maybe like 8, 9 range, but $6 million, up to $6 million.
That's a bargain deal for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm not too thrilled with that. I'm not thrilled with my Seahawks there. Today was extension day.
Yeah, it was.
I believe it was yesterday though. Head coach Sean McDermott of the Bills got a 6-year extension through 2025. It's the first time the Bills have given a contract extension to a head coach since Marv Levy.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
About 25 years ago.
Woo!
Yeah.
So that's a good sign.
That's a great sign. I was ecstatic when I heard about the news because for 20 plus years it's been 2 years, maybe a year, maybe up to 3, and there's a new head coach.
Yeah.
Like he turned it around in 2 years, got him in the playoffs for 2 out of the last 3 years, and it's a new culture there, and I love it.
Yeah, got some consistency now.
Yeah.
Also with the Bills, Deion Dawkins got a 5-year, $60 million extension, $37 million guaranteed. That's a good deal.
That was a really good deal.
Deion's a beast.
Yeah. He's caught 2 touchdowns as a lineman.
Yeah.
He's a decent left tackle over Josh Allen, so I'll take it.
It's good to lock down your blind side.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce. Well, I guess we'll do chronological order for the tight ends. George Kittle signed a 5-year, $75 million extension with $40 million of it in guarantees. George Kittle, everybody, will now be paid upwards of $15 million a season. And then as soon as that news broke, everyone was like, oh, well, Travis Kelce's already on the horn with his agent, I would imagine. Well, yeah. He was on a Zoom call with his agent and everyone on the Chiefs organization. They're like, well, there it is. Pay up. Travis Kelce signed a 4-year extension that'll keep him there through 2025, worth up to $57 million on top of his last 2 years of his $46 million deal he has right now. So I'm not sure what the average is now, what he's up to for these seasons, but I would imagine it's around 15 million. I would imagine he's kind of floating where George Kittle is now.
Yeah, he's probably right about there.
I would imagine.
Yeah, that's talk about the year of teams. This past couple of days, the teams are just shelling out money.
I know the big question is where in the F are the Chiefs getting this money from?
Right? What in the world?
How?
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
How worked over is that contract that they can do that right now and still have signed Patrick Mahomes a month ago?
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, I guess it all has to go with Patrick Mahomes, but there was one point early in the offseason where they came out with everyone's cap space, and they had like $100 in cap space.
Right.
And then it just came out of nowhere. Like, oh, now we're just going to give everyone mega deals. Like, what? We got, I guess, just 2 quick points here. I see you threw this one in here for the Cowboys games. They want fans.
They're nuts, but go ahead.
They want fans in the stands. Let's see here. Tickets will be distributed in seat blocks known as pods to maintain social distance. They're going to maintain the pod integrity by only transferring tickets to families or friends within their trusted group. They have to wear masks, mobile-only ticketing, pay for all food, beverage, parking, retail with a major credit card, no cash, frictionless security scanning, 60 socially distanced metal detectors enter the stadium. I mean, I guess they'll try.
They're going to try, and Jerry Jones is going to push it as far as he can. But I think they're dumb for trying to do that. Just everyone stay home. Let the football happen. We can all watch it on our TVs. Most of us have giant TVs as it is. Yeah. You don't need to be there. Just watch it from home.
I don't understand it. I'm not going to any games, even if they opened up. If they opened up the Bills Stadium to go to the Bills Seahawks game, I'm just not. I'm just not going.
It's not
simple
worth
as that.
Yeah.
It's not. And last but not least, Logan Ryan. I just found this interesting. Logan Ryan wants to play safety for his new team after he's still looking for a team away from the Titans. He wants to play safety instead of corner. He wants to open up his. He wants to showcase his open field skills and be able to rush the passer more. He says his skill set's similar to Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. And it's funny because the big point here is he was playing safety when he picked off Tom Brady in the playoffs for that pick six. So he's already played in that position a little bit. If you want to break down his tape, it's not like he's never played safety.
Yeah.
He just knows the secondary. He can play anywhere. So I guess he just wants to play more open field and just have more availability to be able to
it gives
play
him more
ball hawk.
Right. It gives him more flexibility. Like I feel like that's something you would see more often as a corner going to safety. Like that way they have like more flexibility in what's going on.
And I feel like it's like with his talent at safety, like, usually, seems like Strikeout Beer mentioned on and off the field in one of our posts. Hey, Strikeout Beer shared the stream. Thanks, boys.
Oh, nice. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate that. But yeah, I feel like he's a premier shutdown corner, so he doesn't get thrown at as much. If it's safety, you get to play.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You get to play the whole field. I feel like it's more fun for him. I think that might be kind of why he's heading in that direction. So that's what we have. And now we have roughly 20 minutes to do some fantasy football recap. If we go over, we go over. We usually do. But, we'll see what happens. So for our main segment of mock draft recap, let's bring in Kyle.
Hey,
what's up, son? I'm doing good.
Hanging in there.
I'm waking up now. After we've gone 40 minutes into this, I'm starting to get some of my mojo back.
Around like the 20 to 25 minute mark, you were really getting into a nice groove.
Yeah, and once I started getting mad, starting to read some of these things, people making fun of mental health, I'm starting to get jacked up a little bit. Yeah, So I guess we'll show off this episode like, all right, skip to 25 minutes, and then we should be good to roll from there on out. Yeah. Feel bad for people that tune in. Yeah, I'm not really feeling it today. Yeah, they're tuning out. Yeah, I'll probably edit that out of the episode. We'll figure it out. All right, so we had our mock draft on Tuesday. It was a good time. Unfortunately, we can't have Matt with us from Kicking or Sticking Fantasy Podcast. So we have, I think, we're up to 4 out of 6 of the people that drafted with us. We have my draft, Fred's, Kyle's, and Brandon's from Strikeout Beer. So, who do you guys want to start with? Whose do you want to tear apart?
We can start with mine because I got a pretty good point to make as we get going.
Perfect. I'm all for it. So,
are you going to put it on the screen or are you just going to read it?
I just have it on my phone.
Okay.
So, I mean, I can. Here you go, guys.
Because they also saw.
Yeah, I could have shared the screen, but here we are. This is the moment we're in. We're living in the moment. So, for your first pick, and this is the one I really just want to talk. I want to talk about a little bit here. Is your first pick was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I understand it. High-powered offense. He's taken over Damian Williams after he opted out.
Mm-hmm.
He was great at LSU. He can catch the pass. He can run. It makes sense, but he's a rookie.
He is a rookie. For the most part, I'm trying to avoid a lot of rookie situations this year. But unlike the other rookie running backs, he's actually stepping into a wide open backfield. Like literally the only guy he was supposed to be in competition with opted out. His other competition was also signed to the team this year, DeAndre Washington. So he might split carries a little bit, but Andy Reid was really high on him. He's compared him to Brian Westbrook. Patrick Mahomes said, go get this guy. So I'm not really too worried about him fitting in pretty quick. I was picking 9th overall, and I think 7 of the top running backs went before me. And I'm trying not to leave the first round or the first 2 rounds without one of the elite guys. And his ceiling in that offense is right up there with like CMC and Saquon Barkley. We don't know how his talent is necessarily going to transfer over to the NFL level yet, but we know that he's in the best situation possible to succeed. It's a wide open backfield. The Chiefs are going to score points. They're going to move the ball. They're going to be ahead late in games. These are all the things that you kind of want to target for your running back. So, yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking to take a running back in the first round, but he went in the first round of the NFL draft. It worked pretty well for people who took Zeke a couple of years ago when he was coming into the league as a first-round pick. So I feel pretty good about him to open things out.
Yeah, it all makes sense. There's really nothing. It's just, it's the nerve-wracking point there of, will it pan out? Is he everything that everyone thinks he's going to be? So I'm assuming his ADP is the first round at this point.
Yeah, now it is. He was like mid-second before the Damian Williams opt-out, and now he's catapulted up. And I mean, once you get past the first 6 or 7 running backs, you start getting into guys who have questions about them anyway. So if his only question is really, he's a rookie, we haven't seen him yet, I think that's a little bit better than some of these guys who we have questions about how much work they're going to get. So it's right on that same path to me.
And another guy that's kind of in that same scenario is your second pick, Austin Eckler, who I love. Eckler.
I love that you can get him in the second round. Honestly, I think I was considering him with the Edwards-Helaire pick, but thought that he would fall back to me, and he did. They don't really have anyone who does what he does on the team. They have a couple guys who might be early down grinders, but he proved competent in the red zone last year. They gave him goal line carries, and he was on the field a lot. He got a lot of carries and a lot of receptions. I think his touchdowns are destined to come down a little bit from where they were last year. But this offense still has a lot of playmakers, and I think they're going to be pretty good. And with how strong that defense is, I think that they're going to be in a lot of winning situations or close games, and they're going to really lean on him as one of their easy playmakers for the Ty God to take care of.
I'm all for that guy. I had him on my team last year at one point. Just an absolute beast. Then you went back-to-back wide receivers, Amari Cooper in the 3rd round and Terry McLaurin in the 4th round. to kind of tag team the both of them, who do you think's going to have the bigger year? I mean, do you trust Terry to have a really breakout sophomore year, or are you going to lean on Amari with that explosive offense?
Amari. I think Dallas's offense is going to be second only to the Chiefs this year in terms of probably total yards and total points. I think CeeDee Lamb coming in is going to make things a lot easier for Amari Cooper, because I don't think you're going to be able to double any of the 3 wide receivers that they have on that team. It's just going to be absolute hell for defensive coordinators to try to figure out how to cover the 3 of them. So I think Amari's ceiling definitely goes up a little bit this year. But Terry McLaurin reminds me a lot of what Allen Robinson was when he was with Blake Bortles for a couple years in Jacksonville, where the team was just behind by a ton of points and they were just throwing, and it was literally just one guy who was getting all of the work. And I think that that's going to be Terry McLaurin this year. So I think he has a legit wide receiver 1 upside, but as a wide receiver 2 in the 4th round, I feel pretty comfortable with him there.
Yeah, that's good value there. One of the Cleveland running backs there, and he went back-to-back here with the running backs as well. 5th round, Kareem Hunt, and then Ronald Jones in the 6th. You know, if you're playing PPR, which we were, or well, that's what this was set up to be, was PPR, I would assume, good Lord, Nick Chubb went before Kareem Hunt. But if you're playing PPR, Kareem's the kind of guy you kind of want to see, right? He's the pass catcher.
Yeah, last year they were both top 15 for the weeks that Kareem Hunt was active. So like from, I think it was the final 6 weeks he played, or final 10 weeks, whatever it was. And they were both top 15 running backs from that point forward. Or were between 15 and 20 actually. So they were both top 20 running backs, but neither had that like really standout ceiling, but they were both still very startable. I think he was probably like the 25th or 30th running back off the board in this league. I didn't count them all, and Yahoo doesn't give that to you nice and easy. But
come on, Yahoo.
I think he's got a pretty safe floor, especially in PPR with the receptions. And we talked about Ronald Jones a lot a couple of, almost 2 months ago now, I think, when I first came on and we talked running back.
It's been a while.
It started to look better for him in Tampa Bay. Keyshawn Vaughn tested positive for COVID right away, so that was supposed to be his big competition. Bruce Arians has come out and said he's going to be our go-to guy. Brady has spoken highly of him. His ADP continues to rise and rise and rise. You used to be able to get him in like the 8th round, maybe 9th round, and now he's a 6th-round pick, 6th, 7th-round pick. So he was one that I was definitely targeting. He's probably the only player in drafts that I'm like, I want him on all of my teams this year. Other guys I'm willing to play the value game, see who slips, who's there, but he's one that I'm actively going and trying to get on every team.
Yeah, I had him last year on a couple teams, I think. He was like up and down last year, so you could see that his ceiling could be higher because he had a couple of good games in their offense, but now with Tom Brady and the kind of like a retooled offense, and now he's there alone, I think he's deservingly, his ADP is rising. He should have a good year. Went on a string of wide receivers here. A.J. Green in the 7th round, Will Fuller in the 8th, and then Deontay Johnson in the 9th. I mean, A.J. Green's a little bit aging. Will Fuller, your injury history, but I want Deontay Johnson. I'm steering away from the Steelers.
Values. I know you're stealing away from the Steelers. I'm actually steering right for them.
Man,
they're pretty much all bargains after Ben's down year last year.
It's true.
And just, I don't know. I think that he will either stay healthy for the whole year or be healthy long enough that he carries all of their value. At this point, I had 4 running backs, which I feel pretty good leaving the draft with 4 or 5. Especially in a shallow league that only has 15 spots. So really kind of wanted to lean into the wide receiver values. And these 3 guys, I think they're all just in great situations. A.J. Green, all reports are that he's healthy. The reports were that he probably could have played at the end of last year, but 1, they didn't want to risk his health, and 2, they didn't want to risk their draft position. So they sat him out for the whole year. So I'm excited for him to have a year off to really have healed his body. He's in great shape. We're starting to see some training camp videos to come out, although they're heavily edited by the teams. So we don't really know exactly what we're getting there, but excited for him. And Will Fuller is the new number one receiver in Houston. We've seen him when he's healthy. He's got 50-point upside. So
when he's healthy is a very big if.
Well, if he plays 11 or 12 games, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Especially in a year where we don't know how many guys are going to be missing time due to COVID. I'm less injury averse than usual, just knowing that there's going to be so much turnover, especially at the wide receiver position, because it's so deep in terms of guys who could fill his role as like a wide receiver 3 or 4 on the team.
That's fair. Every time I've had him, I'm the kind of guy that he has back-to-back 30, 40-point games. I pick him up off the waiver wire or something, and then he'll get 2 points and get injured, and he's down for the next 3 weeks. That's what would happen to me, so I just have a bad blood with Will Fuller. That last running back you mentioned was 10th round with Darrell Henderson Jr. for the Rams, who I was big on. I was really big on him, at least before the draft, and they bring in Cam Akers. It'll be it's another rookie running back. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I would assume Darrell will get a bulk of the carries until Cam Akers gets comfortable with the offense, maybe breaks out, but it's a good pick. But you got back-to-back Rams here with Jared Goff as your quarterback in the 11th round. That's a good value, but do you really like Jared Goff?
I earned my B as my grade for my team. I probably should have paid up with the 10th round pick and grabbed Carson Wentz at that point. The distance between him and Goff on my board is quite significant, but I had really wanted to talk about Darrell Henderson because Matt took Cam Akers, and I wanted to play the contrarian Rams running back. And I'm actually a big believer in Goff this year. His touchdown rate was pretty low last year. He had been pretty high in touchdown rate his first 2 years in the league with McVay. I emphasize with McVay, not before McVay. So kind of his dip last year is more attributed to just the fact that the offense just wasn't working for part of the year and that just his touchdowns were low. If you move his touchdowns up to where he had been the previous 2 years, he's back up right outside of the top 10, inside the top 10 at quarterback. So I think they figured things out the last 4 weeks of last year. They were willing to let Brandon Cooks go because they had seen the value of having the 2 tight end sets on the field. And I think he's in store for a pretty good rebound. He's going as like the 20th quarterback off the board. At this point, almost everybody had backups before I took my starter, which I'm okay with because quarterbacks from like 5 to 20 are all essentially the same. Like there's 3 points per game difference maybe amongst those guys. So it's just such a narrow field when you're measuring quarterbacks there. And it's a pretty streamable position. So if he doesn't get off to a good start and there's a guy on the waiver wire who is doing well, you can just cancel one out, put the other one right in, and you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, that's fair. Especially in a 12-team league. Generally, you don't need to worry about quarterbacks too often, I guess. It's a wasted spot. Like I know when we get to mine, I'm not too happy about what I did with my quarterback, but you went back-to-back Eagles for 12 and 13. Jalen Reagor and Dallas Goedert. That's interesting. It's the Eagles' offense, so it could be very high or very low.
Reagor is one of 2 rookie wide receivers I'm targeting. Just a lot of opportunity on that team. Alshon Jeffrey's starting the year on the PUP list. Deshaun Jackson's in hot water and is always not. I think he gets more injured than Will Fuller does. So we might see Reagor really shining here. It's going to be him and Greg Ward, I believe, on the outside to start the year. And people just speak huge volumes about him. He was at TCU, so a little under the radar in terms of wide receivers, and he didn't have an elite quarterback throwing him the ball, so his stats aren't as like eye-popping as you might want them to be. But he was still a first-round target from the Eagles. I think they said he was the 3rd wide receiver on their board. And they were able to get him. So I'm pretty high on him. You can get him in the 12th round right before kickers and defenses. So it's just a pretty flyer. If he doesn't really show anything over the first 2 or 3 weeks, you can kind of cut him for whatever waiver wire pickup is out there. And then for Dallas Goedert, he was a top 12 tight end last year with all of the flux on the Eagles offense. And I just think he's going to continue to work into Zach Ertz's workload a little bit. And if the Eagles get as injured as they are, or if Ertz goes down, he has potential league-winning upside as somebody going right before kickers and defenses.
And kickers and defenses, I guess we don't really need to go into detail. Yeah, it's Denver's defense and Young Ho Koo for Atlanta. There you go for anyone who was dying to know. Yeah. What did Yahoo give you for your grade? I know it said it dropped you down a little bit for Goff there, but what did it give you?
B, I think because I didn't take a backup quarterback and tight end, I was quite a bit lower than everybody else at the total point threshold. I looked at their projected standings, and I want to say I was 4th or 5th. So even with a B, I was still projected to finish just outside the playoffs. A couple moves during the season, you can usually make your way in. So pretty good baseline for the team. Like I said, with Edwards-Helaire and Eckler anchoring the running backs, I feel pretty confident with the 2 running backs I took behind them. And then Cooper, McLaurin, Green, and Fuller, starting 3 of those 4 every week. I feel really good about that.
It's not a bad team. I really can't dig on it. That's a good team. So, just for fun, real quick, let's squeeze it in here. For Brandon, he took Devontae Adams first overall, not overall, first round.
Yeah.
So he took wide receiver first round. It's not bad. Kenyon Drake, second round, Mike Evans, third round, Mark Andrews, in the 4th round, tight end. Le'Veon Bell, 5th round. T.Y. Hilton, 6th round. Drew Brees, his quarterback, in the 7th round. Then he went Darius Slayton and John Brown in 8th and 9th. Might be a little high for Giants wide receivers, but that's just me. Latavius Murray in the 10th round. Adrian Peterson in 11, which his stock went up after the Darius Geis release.
Yeah.
Baltimore's defense, Brashad Perriman in the 13th round, which his stock went up a little bit. And if you trust Sam Darnold at all, Brashad Perriman will be a good pick. Curtis Samuel in Carolina, and then finishing off with Zane Gonzalez. He wanted me to let everybody know he auto-drafted his defense because he was watching The Sopranos. So he was very upset that he auto-drafted that defense in the 12th round. It's a good defense, but he says they should not be picked until the second to last or last round. He wanted to make sure everyone knew that. So you're welcome, Brandon. I just wanted to make sure everyone's on the same page. So let's get to Durf's team.
All right.
What did they grade you?
Yahoo gave me a B.
Okay. Just a flat out B.
Just a flat B.
They gave you a B for first round pick, Michael Thomas of the Saints. I mean, I heard it today.
B right there.
And you had what, the 3rd overall pick too?
I'm going to give it to you now. The pass on Zeke, Cook, Kamara, just
big oof. Yeah. But, you got the best wide receiver in the draft because someone was talking about the points that wide receivers scored last year in PPR. Michael Thomas had somewhere around 380, and the number 2 wide receiver was like 285 or something, like 100 more points than the next wide receiver. But I don't have a huge problem with that. My bigger issue comes in the 2nd round when you still went wide receiver and got Chris Godwin in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
How can you justify back-to-back wide receivers in the 1st and 2nd round?
Because every running back that I was targeting in those rounds was already being picked off. So the wide receivers were available. No one was taking them right away. So I'm like, I'm going to jump on a PPR train here, and these guys are going to catch footballs from Breeze and Brady all season, so I'll take the points.
It's not terrible. I mean, they're good players.
Right.
But I start to get concerned when we get to the 3rd and 4th round. Now your starting running backs are going to be Melvin Gordon, who's a good, he's shown flashes. He sat out. I don't know. I felt up and down with him. He fumbles a lot. You've seen him fumble in a lot of situations for the Chargers. And he also might have to compete with Phillip Lindsay a little bit. And then you take Raheem Mostert in the 4th round, who was also competing for carries.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you grow confidence.
I like Melvin there. I thought it was good value for him.
Yeah.
Raheem Mostert, it's just too early for me to take him.
Oh,
security in San Francisco.
At least they like to run the ball in San Francisco. At least you got that going for you.
Very true.
Then you got Cortland Sutton in the
Yep.
5th round, Denver wide receiver. I mean, I almost took him at one point. He might have been my 5th round guy.
Yeah.
I'm hesitant on the Denver offense. There's a lot of hype.
Yeah, there is a lot of hype, and it really depends on how Drew Lock comes out the first week, whether or not that relationship's there, like it ended last year or not.
And then if defenses are going to double anyone on offense, it's probably going to end up being Sutton. I would imagine, since they're bringing in a bunch of rookie wide receivers to play across from. Then you got Hunter Henry, your tight end, which I found out before Kelsey's contract extension. He was actually the 2nd highest paid tight end in the league at about $10.6 million a season.
Oh, wow.
He's a very talented tight end. You just got to watch out for those injuries.
Yes, when he's healthy, he is very talented.
That's always the famous line. If he's healthy. Hashtag if he's healthy.
Yep.
Deshaun Watson at number the 7th round.
Yep.
Decent quarterback pickup. That's not bad for 7th round.
I didn't think it was terrible because he's kind of a dual threat quarterback, and you could see that some of the dual threat quarterbacks were starting to get taken off the board. I'm like, well, I need to get one, so I took him. I've had him before. I've had wishy-washy results with him, but yeah, it was a mock draft, so I was taking a chance on it.
It should be interesting to see his first season without D-Hop. That's for sure.
Right, yeah.
Marvin Jones Jr. from Detroit
in
the 8th round, and then Emmanuel Sanders in the 9th. Two kind of...
Right.
I would imagine there'd be more deep ball kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
So PPR-wise, we'll see.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders has had some injury history. He's a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael Thomas will be getting a lot of the attention. Maybe it opens up for some deep balls, a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns that might result in points. We'll see.
Yeah. But Marvin Jones, though, he's very underrated for stats, though, for when it comes to fantasy. So I thought that was a pretty good pickup at 8th.
It was. He actually is pretty even to Kenny Galladay if you look at their stats over the last 16 games with Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
So, to get him that late is a wonderful pickup.
Yeah.
So that probably is what gave you your B instead of a C. But you got the guy that I loved last year.
Second running back is what gave him his B.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The guy I liked last year, he was going to carry me throughout the playoffs, and then he had his injury. Was Kerryon Johnson, running back, and I would have assumed he would have been drafted higher this year if they didn't bring in Swift.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift out of Georgia.
So that's probably why he dropped so far. And then you took you took the opposite of Kerryon Johnson and grabbed the rookie for Buffalo and Zach Moss. So a couple of running backs there late that could potentially have some decent value. It depends on how the offenses work out.
Yep.
And then Buffalo's defense in the 12th. A lot of people would yell at you for that, but
that's okay.
I don't even know where I drafted my defense. I think I drafted my defense high too, so we'll see. Jimmy Garoppolo is your backup quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo. OJ Howard, tight end in the 14th, and then Matt Prater for your kicker.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he's a little bit more flashier Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
So
all right. He's a better looking Ryan Tannehill. Oh, you know that jawline there. Oh, that George Kittle video. Remember that?
Oh,
that's a
good time. I mean, I jumped on Buffalo in the 12th round not only just because I'd like to get at least one Bills player on my fantasy team. This is something I do, but that I knew the defense, because of how good they are, someone was going to snatch them up because we had a couple auto drafters in the mock draft. So it's a little bit of a reach, but I just want to be guaranteed I got it.
Well, defenses in the 12th round are really fine. It's when people start taking them in the 8th and 9th round that they're
which happened last year in my work draft. People were taking a couple in there
all the time because people fill out their starters.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, good, I'm good. And they look at this thing and they're like, oh, so defense is next. And they just go and they take whatever the top defense is. But by the time you get past round 10, you've mitigated most of the value that's being gained. Everybody's just taking flyers anyway. If you feel like one defense is going to be that much better than all the others, go ahead and grab them. From that point forward, everyone else is just taking kickers and defenses. So you get the guy that you probably would have taken anyway.
Right.
Yeah, you don't really want to be stuck with Jacksonville's defense if you wait until like the last round.
No, don't need that.
It's going to be a bad time. I'll just go through mine. You guys can let me know what you think. I gave myself the first overall pick. Thank you. So I took Christian McCaffrey. I feel like that's a given. I mean, I feel like if you're not taking him first overall, is there any objections to that? Have you seen anyone else going first overall?
Occasionally, Saquon will. A couple of people were thinking Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh, God, no.
Right after the news, as I think more of a statement more than anything else.
Okay.
But yeah, any of the top 4 running backs I've seen go first overall. Usually it's either Zeke, Saquon, or CMC. But I want to say like 98% of leagues have CMC go first.
All
Makes sense.
That's that. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Kenny Galladay was my second round pick. I did take my wide receiver there. I probably should have went running back because someone took Patrick Mahomes, and I don't know what came over me. I think the clock was running down. Something was just clicking in my head, and I ended up taking Lamar Jackson in the 3rd round, which forced me in the 4th round to take my second running back, which unfortunately turned out to be Leonard Fournette.
Oh,
so I'm not pleased. We'll say that.
That's a rough one.
It was a rough start for 4 rounds for you because I'm fading Galladay and Fournette both pretty hard this year.
Yeah, I trust Galladay. I really do.
I like him. There's a couple of guys I like more is really more what it is. I think he's a fine player. He'll have a good season. There's just a couple of guys I would bump up above him.
And that's fair, but Leonard Fournette, I did not feel. I knew when I picked him in the moment. I knew I didn't feel good about it. I guess my defense would be if Jacksonville's gonna have an offense, it would have to go through him because what else is there? What DJ Chark? Get out of here. I ended up taking Michael Gallup in the 5th round because Amari Cooper was already gone. You took him a couple picks before that. Michael Gallup, still a good player. I don't know for PPR. I don't know what kind of catch rate he has. But I know he's a deep ball guy. He's going to get touchdowns. Darren Waller was my tight end in the 6th round.
Nice.
Big Darren Waller guy. Big target. Darren Waller is the guy who kicked me out of the playoffs last year in one of my leagues. It was his 3 touchdown day that he had. I was just watching that game all right, I have a huge lead and Darren Waller. So if that happens this year, it's going to be me doing it to the other guy.
I'm worried about him this year just because he had such target volume last year because they didn't have any other receivers.
Right.
They went out and drafted 2 guys in the first 2 rounds in terms of Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards. And Lynn Bowden, who they took later as a receiver running back out of Kentucky, I believe. So he's got a lot more target competition this year. They also brought in Jason Witten, for what that's worth.
For what that's worth, yeah.
Last year he was the only guy around, and that really allowed him to excel.
Right. Yeah. What are you talking about? They had Hunter Renfrow. Come on.
I know, and the 2 of them did amazing.
Yeah.
Now they have 4 or 5 guys, and I don't think they throw enough to feed that many guys.
That's a fair point. I'll listen to that argument. Thanks for that advice for the real draft. I'll remember that. Matt Breida, running back in the 7th round from Miami. I mean, he has to compete with Jordan Howard. We'll see how that pans out. I know we talked during the draft on Tuesday that you're not big on Jordan Howard, but you like Jordan Howard. If he stays healthy, he's good.
Breida, but at this point, I mean, you're just taking flyers, and if you feel that much better about Breida, I have no problem with him. There wasn't a whole lot else on the board at this point to maybe jump up and take.
I took Christian Kirk in the 8th round. I'm a huge Christian Kirk fan. If you listen to the podcast, you know that I'm a huge Christian Kirk fan. And I took Hayden Hurst in the 9th round. So if Darren Waller doesn't pan out, I know Hayden Hurst at least most likely will. If Austin Hooper had a lot of success in Atlanta, Hayden Hurst is going to take that kind of success and just soak all that in. But then I like Alexander Madison, Minnesota backup running back to Dalvin Cook. I'm just waiting for him to go down again. It's almost a guarantee. And Madison ate last year after Cook went down. So
I mean, I that's a good pick. I like those. It's smart to take the handcuff running backs for guys that aren't your running back because it opens you up to more opportunity. Because
right.
pick CMC, who doesn't really have a handcuff, but like if you had taken Zeke instead of taking Tony Pollard to take Alexander Madison, it gives you more opportunity to guys who would be number one running backs. Where otherwise Pollard is just sitting on your bench. He's literally only usable if Zeke gets injured. Mm-hmm. And so this kind of just sets you up better. It gives your team a little more upside, which is why you probably finished like first in the league here.
Oh, I didn't even check standings. I didn't know they gave you that.
I had to click through some things in Yahoo, but it came up when I was looking for something else.
Yahoo's a death trap. I hate it. McCole Hardman was my 11th round pick. You know, he's like your third round depth chart or the third on the depth chart for wide receiver. But, you know, if you wait for someone to go down like Sammy Watkins, which is, you know, over his career, it's been a giant question mark. He could move up to a number 2 on that number 2 role. I took the defense because it was the stupid auto drafters taking defenses. So I really wanted the Chargers defense on my team. I have so much faith in them. The pass rush is there, especially with Bosa. And then they have Derwin James if he stays healthy. And then they just stacked the rest of that secondary and with free agency this year. So that team should be a top 3 defense without a doubt. I just feel like there's no reason they shouldn't be. I only took Ryan Tannehill because Kyle talked me into it on Tuesday.
Hey, if you're going to take a backup quarterback, he's about as good as it gets.
Yeah. So if he ends up just having this really odd good season, sure, let's go. And Lamar Jackson blows his knee out like RG3 did.
One game for you, but that's okay. If he does really well, you can always trade him to somebody who doesn't have
true. Very true.
A better piece.
Someone who's not trade bait is probably Justin Jackson, my 14th round pick. His name came up a lot last year. He was running back for the Chargers. He had a couple of spurts. So if something happens to Austin Eckler, just another handcuff there. And then I took my only Seahawk just for fun. Jason Myers, my kicker. So there's the pupper.
Yeah, there you go.
He wanted to get involved.
Yeah, that's
Mom went to pick up dinner, so he wanted to say hi.
He's getting famous. He's famous now. There you go. Get your airtime.
He does.
All right. Well, so I mean that's our full recap. Yeah. So Kyle, thank you again for coming on. I mean, you're probably the guest we've had on most consistently, over the entire show ever. So we appreciate your time.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to be here, and thank you for saying what you said about sticking up with people for mental health. Said a lot more in these days, especially with people struggling through everything going on now. So, especially in Twitter, where comments just sit there and people check and read them. So, big props to you for that. Thanks for having me, guys. I'll talk to you guys probably in a week.
Thank you. Yeah, probably most likely. All righty. And that's our show. Yeah. Mental health, very important. Talk to people.
Yes.
It's very important. I know it's becoming more prevalent these days, and that's good. Maybe if anything comes out of COVID-19, maybe this is it.
Yeah.
It gets people talking about mental health because of all the isolation and everything. So maybe this is it. So
maybe.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you go to the website, onoutfield.com. You can go to rtfsportsnetwork.com. It just got rebranded, actually.
Nice.
Design update on the network page. So go check that out. And, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next Tuesday, 7-8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like always. And we have a sign-off. I don't know what the lead-up's going to be. I don't know what I'm going to say. But I guess, whatever it's going to be, just go ahead.
Always address the ball.